Good morning. This is Bob Rigg from deep within the gorge of the Grand Canyon of the Colorado, speaking to you this beautiful day about past river expeditions from the 1950s era. Let's go back to the late part of June in 1950 and take a look at Badger Creek Rapid and the Upper Marble Canyon Gorge. This was just prior to our expedition of 1950. Jim Rigg, Frank Wright, Don Smith, and myself were the river rats. Jim and Frank had purchased the Neville's expedition following the tragic death of Norm and Doris Neville's. Built 3 new boats, the Norm, the Doris, and the Mexican Hat III. Frank just christened the Norm with the bottle of muddy Colorado River water. We had loaded the boats. They were brand new. 3 of them were brand new. I believe in 1950 we were about 117 to 124 as far as the number of people that had gone through the Grand Canyon. And we are departing from Paria Creek by Lee's Ferry near Marble Canyon, Arizona. Had a party of 12 of us all together. It was a typical muddy Colorado River water that no longer exists because of the Glen Canyon Dam. That was not good for the Grand Canyon. But this was Soap Creek, probably around 30 or 40,000 second feet, 1950. We had run Badger the day before and had a good run there. This is on below Soap Creek, 25 Mile and House Rock. Jim running one of the boats through. I mentioned these boats are 16 feet long and 5.5 feet wide. They have about 7 watertight, sometimes watertight compartments, 2 for storage and 5 for buoyancy. Neville's designed them in the 1930s and took them through the first time in 1938. And he made 7 trips through the Grand Canyon before his untimely demise. Oftentimes, if you could plow through the upper laterals and into the eddy, you would hardly take on any water at all, whereas you might take on a boatload or half a boatload and some if you got into some big water. We had no passengers on some of the runs through the rapids, although more and more we did keep our passengers with us. This is one of the rapids below Phantom Ranch. This is Granite Falls, making a good run cheating it along the left, avoiding the rocks, and they had a great run. I personally like Granite Falls as much as any rapid on the river. This was to be Neville's last expedition down the Grand Canyon, as he and his wife were tragically killed in a plane crash. I believe it was September 19th, 1949. This is Hermit Falls. Those are big waves out there. And I believe they elected to line the upper part of Hermit along the left, load up a boatman or 2, and run the lower part. This is Lava Falls. Lava had only been run a very few times. Neville's ran it in 1940 in low water. I don't know that many people had ever run Lava Falls. It had always been lined. This is Horn Creek. Horn Creek can be an extremely treacherous run. Actually, I believe that's Bob Rigg in that boat there with the passenger. Johnny Harper in Horn Creek with a passenger. Horn Creek has claimed the life of a boatman or 2 or a passenger or 2 over the years. It's not without its reputation. It can change. It changes considerably whether it's high water or low water, but I've never seen it when it was not a very, very difficult place to run. It's a very difficult rapid. Well, of course, with the big pontoons, maybe you can float down and it doesn't make any difference, but to us in the cataract boats, we wanted to be kind of careful. We're going to jump back up to Grand Junction, where the cataract boats were domiciled the winter of 1950 and 51. Jim and Frank had them up there doing some work on them. And this is out at the airport at Grand Junction in 1950, 51 winter. And, you know, they're heavy boats, but you can lift them and turn them over, and I've turned them over by myself. You got to oomph a little bit, but you can do it. Obviously, you got to paint them up and repair anything that needs to be repaired. We didn't ding boats, or practically never hit a rock, but we had occasionally a little intimacy, but not much. But you want to paint them up and clean them with a steel brush, and take the oarlocks and redo the oarlocks occasionally with good nylon rope, which was then present. You start down at where the oarlock goes into on the bottom part of it there, and they got the oar upside down, and you want to be sure the knot's on the top so it doesn't interfere with the way the oar fits in the oarlock and how you can turn it and how it feels. It doesn't feel right if it's you got a knot there. This is the old road down to Lee's Ferry. It was get washed out occasionally. It was a treacherous road if it rained, which it did rain occasionally. I nearly lost a Jeep down in Paria Creek. It belonged to Jim and Frank. I was trying to pull a boat trailer across there to get up to Lee's Ferry to put the boat in, and we thought we could make it, but the water's about 3 or 4 feet deep, and it finally choked us out. But anyway, this is how you put boats in the water back in the good old days. A lot of heave-ho and push through the mud and the debris and the rocks and the driftwood piles along the river. And this is Paria Creek after the peak runoff, of course. Water's still pretty high. I'd rather have a little bit more water. This is a boat being run down through Hansel. I think we lined a boat and then we ran a boat. So I'll have to back up on that. But I think that's exactly what we did, was run one, and that's Jim there. That should be Jim anyway. Jim and the Mexican Hat the Third. Great run. You maneuver around to mix the rocks. You know, you gotta miss the holes, and that's what we're trying to do. Here we are running the boats through Dubendorf. And that should have been yours truly, looks like there. If I had a choice in life to do things, I think I'd probably run rivers more than anything else. That was, it was the greatest part of my life ever. And we're just thrilled to have been able to make that trip. And thank you all for being here. And thank you, family. We love you all. I love you all.